Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another awesome episode as we sit down with a fur and horse mom who works at a veterinary clinic. She's also a competition and lifestyle coach who helps people get chemical-free products into their homes as well. And she just started her first season as a pro. Welcome to the show, Kristen Markowski. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to be on here. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. I'm super excited.
Me too, of course. And of course, I'd love to know what is one thing you do or ritual you have right before you step on stage.
So I always think of my dad actually. So I grew up showing horses, and he would always tell us, like, I started when I was like 10 or 11, and he would always tell us, big smile, have fun out there. Because so many people just always take it so seriously. So that always stuck with me. And one of the first the first NPC competition I ever did, there was a guy backstage, and he said like the exact words that my dad
Wow.
always used to say. So I was like, okay, this is gonna like stick with me, and I'm just gonna run through it. And so I just want to think of having fun up there and really enjoying the moment because it goes by so fast.
It really does. And you just recently started your pro season. You're actually in peak week.
Yes, peak week.
Woo! Which is, of course, awesome. So, before I ask you the question, actually, I should have asked you, are you planning on doing a run of shows after this one as well?
So I do have a couple in mind. I ideally so far have that I'm going to do Chicago in July, and then contemplating Tampa in August. And then if, something falls in between or after, we'll kind of see. But yeah, I mean, I'm committed to, giving my pro run a go for a while. So
Nice. That's awesome. So are you trying to like kind of get your feet wet and then maybe starting in August, like racking up points, or are you racking up points right now?
Um, so far I don't have any points. But ideally, yeah, that's what I'd like to do is kind of, it's great to kind of get my feet wet, see where I stand, especially doing these next couple of shows. And then, definitely hope to hit it hard, starting whether it's in the fall or, first thing beginning of the year, and kind of game plan with my coach. But yeah, I mean, obviously everyone would love to be on, the Arnold and the Olympia stage. So sure, that's the long-term goal. But in the short term, yeah, just get my face out there more, do some more shows, get a little bit more recognized. So
That's awesome. Yeah, there's so much more to being a pro than just stepping on the Arnold or just stepping on the Olympia. I
for
feel like
sure.
that whole experience must be pretty awesome and worthwhile and something worth experience. It's like as an amateur, there is no, I mean, you have nationals, right? But there's
Yeah.
no like big stage that I think people are like, fighting to get onto.
Right.
Fighting to win, yeah, but fighting to
Right.
get onto, no. You know what I mean? So I feel
For
like it
sure.
kind of carries over into being a pro as well. Like I would imagine that at that point you still love competing as much, and now you even get more opportunities to do it and on new stages and with new approaches. So that was something I wanted to actually ask you about, which was like, what have you noticed to be some of the biggest differences, between like the pro league and the amateur league, but also between the physiques that you see now that you are a pro?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I guess the biggest thing, stage wise is you do get a little bit more time for your routine, which bikini, unfortunately, sometimes in the NPC, it gets, snubbed down as far as time wise on stage to, really present ourselves, and then you feel rushed. So it's nice to go up on stage, and if anything, like, I needed to like slow down a little bit more, because I still even had like that mindset of like, oh my gosh, they're gonna rush me off stage, they're gonna push the next girl out before I'm even done with my back pose. So to just be able to be up there and, really again, enjoy that moment of being up there. The physiques are amazing. Like, the girls look awesome. They look as good in their pictures as they do in real life. Everyone is like beautiful. Their hair, their makeup, their muscles are definitely full. They're conditioned, where I know sometimes at the smaller shows or the local level, the judges have to place what walks in front of them that day. So, we'll see, pictures of people winning, and they may not be the most conditioned, or what's winning on the local stage isn't matching the national level. And, so you just have to be aware of, if you're trying to go for your pro card, what's competing and winning at the national level. Because I was competing at some of the local shows, and my most recent local show, amateur show, that I did before going to junior nationals and then getting my pro card at Team Universe, was the worst placing I had ever had at a show. I got fourth. I had always, kind of been like first or second, and my worst placing. And it's not that I wasn't conditioned. If anything, I was, more conditioned. And then I was like, but this is the physique that's on the national stage. I need to stay in line with what's winning and doing well at the national stage, not the local level. So I just kept my focus on that. And I went to junior nationals, which was my second national show. The first one I did was in 2006 in Miami. I got like fourth callouts. And then went to junior nationals in 2018, and I was first callouts and ended up sixth place. And then at NPC Universe was first callouts and ended up second with my pro card.
That's
So
awesome.
I just kept that vision. Okay, what do the national level girls look like? What do the pros look like? If that's what I want to be, that's what I need to get my physique to look like.
So what did you and your coach do differently heading into a national show than in all the national shows that you did?
Yeah. So I once started working with this coach that I'm with now after I did my first national show. So I did that November 2016, and then I actually started working with Gordon January 2017. So from there, just really like bringing my legs up, mostly my hamstrings. And then obviously we all want our glutes. So building my glutes, just really just building muscle, like all around, and just adding a little bit more size, being a little bit more conditioned, where he kind of found a good plan for my body that works as far as getting me to, cut the fat and not kill myself with cardio. And luckily my body does like carbs, so it's not too miserable for me.
That's good. That's awesome. So, in preparing for your pro debut, what were some things that you focused on bringing to the stage, or just focused on in terms of preparing for that?
Yeah. So I do a lot of reflecting and like journaling. I feel like a lot of it is one mindset as well. Just making sure I was mentally in the right place to do it. Because one, prep is hard anyways. There's always going to be something that comes up, or something gets thrown in the way, things don't go as planned, whether it's big or small. And just being able to adapt and like go with the flow of things, and not beat myself up if something wasn't going right. But with this though, as far as, planning for everything, differently, we did some of my training differently. I focused a little bit more on glutes, not so much more on my legs. I focused a lot on like shoulders, building that up, and just kind of going from there.
Nice. And I think it's pretty easy for a lot of us to get wrapped up in the end goal, right? Like the stage or the date or the special moment or whatever it might be. So, what do you do during your preps to continuously enjoy the process?
Yeah, that I feel like that's definitely a big thing. It's definitely easy to want to seclude yourself from events and parties and families. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, yeah, there are some people that can compete for a very long period of time, but a lot of people, competing ends up being a short part of their life. It's maybe, 5 years of their life, and that's not a very long time. And to lose, sight of everything else that's going on, hopefully fitness stays a part of people's lives and working out and stuff like that. But, to make sure that you have things that you're involved in just outside of competing, because it's so easy to just go home and sit around and wait for your meals and, oh, am I eating again? Like, I'm very busy all the time, and I sometimes it's a lot, but it keeps me going. It keeps me motivated in other directions. And I don't beat myself up if I don't do well at a show, or things are going my way as far as competing wise, because I know I'm so much more than just a competitor. I'm so much more than a body that's getting tanned and going on stage. I have other things that I'm focused on and goal oriented towards. So I think that's really important to have something more than just competing. Or you see some top pros that it really looks like they literally just go to the gym and eat their meals and do their cardio and get their nails and their eyelashes done, and like, yeah, that's great. But at some point, that's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And if that's what people want, then that's great too. But I like being busy and doing other activities, doing my horses, going on hikes, being with my animals. There's just to not get so caught up in only the fitness and the competing world. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of, resonates with me a lot because a big part of, obviously, as I'm sure you've seen, it's like my mission is to help people build more than just a body. And this is
yes.
hugely important in the competition space. And you brought it up earlier, like so much of this is mindset. And you talked about how you like to journal and reflect. What are some of the things that you find yourself journaling on or you commit to journaling on, reflecting on, especially in regards to competing? So maybe people listening can start having some prompts or some things that they can start thinking about.
Absolutely. So first off, I always journal things that I'm grateful for. It could be something as little as, I'm grateful for my car because it gets me where I need to go. I'm thankful for my animals because they make me happy. I'm thankful for my job because it provides me, money and financial security. So those are things that I'm writing down in my journal, and I try to do 5 to 10 things that I write down every single day that I'm grateful for. There's a couple good books that I've read, The Secret, The Power of Love, The Magic. And just all things that are just,
Mm-hmm.
law of attraction and just being grateful. Competing wise with the food, we get so caught up on food. And, yeah, these final, couple weeks, it can be tough. You're not eating a lot of food, but you're still eating 6 times a day. There are some people in this world that would be so happy to have your one meal of 3 ounces and half a cup of rice, just once a day. So I'm choosing to do this, and I'm still grateful that I have food that I'm able to eat. When cardio
Mm-hmm.
is rough and going to my workouts is, I'm tired, I'm still physically able to get up and go by myself, not need anyone's help. I have arms and legs that work just fine. And some people don't have that. So it's just really like humbling yourself, like, okay, I'm choosing to do this.
Yeah.
This is something that, it's, again, a choice. So
Absolutely. I love all of that. Seriously, I mean, that's just so powerful. It's an important thing to do. And I think we can't be angry or upset or in a lot of pain when we are rooted in gratitude or when we revisit gratitude. I remember
yeah.
like the other day I was like, oh, I have to go grocery shopping. And I was like, You know what? That's ridiculous. Like the fact that I have the money to grocery shop, the fact that I have the ability to not just buy food at all, but food that I need and that helps me achieve my goals. Like, come on.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I totally agree with you. You know, this is a choice. And when we're doing cardio, it's like, well, okay, there's people who don't even have access to gyms, and there's people who have to do cardio every day to make a living. Like they have to literally walk to get their water, and
Yep,
yet we're like getting gallons filled up from our sink. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So I never like to compare one struggle to another, but it is something to be mindful of, right? Like we are choosing this.
Sure.
So, and all the things you brought up too, like personal development wise, I think that it's really, really important. It's something that I invested heavily into myself a few years ago, and I'm so glad that I did. It's changed the game for me. And like to be really honest, like I didn't even start like placing in shows or feeling good about the way that I looked or the way that I felt or anything like that until I had done the inner work.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
the other thing that I think, that I just appreciate about you is that your posts do go a lot deeper than surface level. And I was hoping you could continue to bring some of that to the show here like you have been. And I think, some girls struggle to feel that they can maintain discipline or they can find balance from prep to improvement season. So, what are some of the ways that you have maintained discipline, if that's the right, I mean, we could replace that with so many other words, but with new standards for your off season, right? So maintaining discipline and
Sure.
standards in there.
Yeah, so I think what really helped me was, so obviously I have a coach that sets up my plan. As I get closer into, my shows and stuff, it's a little bit more, eat this or this. We kind of limit the sources a little bit. But in my off season, like I've learned to kind of do a little bit of IIFYM and, finding stuff that fit my macros. Like if I want to, so I normally do my 6 meals. If my pre-workout meal is, 25 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbs and, 5 grams of fat, if I want to have a protein shake and half of an M&M's ice cream cookie sandwich, I do, because I'm going to go bust my butt in the gym. It still fits my calories in, calories out for the day. It's still my maintenance. So I make meals like 93 or 96% ground beef with pasta. I cook all my pasta separately, and then I measure it out, and I use some pasta sauce that I again measure out as well. So I really do measure out a lot of stuff. I know some people find it really tedious, but I would rather do that and eat foods that I like than to restrict myself because I don't want to educate myself on, reading a label and finding out what the protein, carbs, and fats are of it. So that's been, I think, a really, really big thing for me. I grew up, a regular kid eating macaroni and cheese and pizza and, going through college, eating that stuff. I'm
Mhm.
31 years old, so I didn't start competing until I was 25. So I had already created a lot of habits, of not eating good food. So,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't crave those foods anymore, but one, I learned that, being able to track my food and eating foods that I enjoy has helped me. Knowing that there's a time and a place for those foods that, I do have the freedom in my off season that, you can't have a meal, one meal out of your 42 meals in the week isn't going to ruin everything, and to
Right.
not beat myself up and just to really like accept that. I think the biggest thing was just to, again, just not beat myself up about it and understand that as long as I'm putting in the work at the gym, um, you know, keeping on track of my food and what I'm doing, all this is gonna, and over time, it really does, add up. Having accountability, whether it be a gym partner, your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever friend, a coach, something like that. Having that accountability is huge. I know a lot of people will just hire a coach while they want to get in prep. I stay on with my coach all year round. I may in my off season go 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not fully updating him, but I am always in contact at some point, and that definitely helps me. But I've also learned just to have the discipline to myself, because I expect more from myself. I'm not doing this for my coach. I'm not doing this for social media. I'm doing this because I am passionate about it, and I expect myself to give more. Like, that's, I think, the biggest thing is I don't want to let myself down.
Yeah, that's really powerful. No, for real. I think that's like, I was actually just messaging a friend the other day and we were talking about how sometimes you start getting like those prep feels, and I've been getting those like I want to be on prep. Like you get that itch, right? That itch to breathe.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it and I was like, like I am in no place to start a prep. It just wouldn't make sense, but I can treat the next couple of weeks, or I can start treating a certain amount of time as though it is a prep, and embrace the fact that it's like, it's not because you're getting closer to a show or to a date again, right? It's like, what does that bring you? It's like, I want to show myself that I am more capable than maybe I think, or it allows me to feel like I'm accomplishing more than I thought I could, or it's bringing me to this place where I can push that upper limit and expect more for myself, like you said. And I love
Absolutely.
that you brought that up. I just think it's so powerful, because competing is more than stepping on stage, although obviously that's what we do at the end of
Right.
it is like we compete on stage, but at the same time, like, this is something that can bring us so much more. And one of the other things you brought up was like, you don't beat yourself up for having something in your improvement season. And this is something like a ton of girls who I work with talk about. Like, they beat themselves up, they feel guilty. And I think like the root of this, and I think this is something that people can benefit from, and I'm just going to share, it's from my 8-week post-show personal development program. And something that I have them do is literally write down like their new standards for this improvement time or for this growth period, right? Because we are so used to following a plan from our coach because they're prepping us. But what happens when we have a life where there is no prep? We still have to be able to have standards and expectations for ourselves. And so I think where people mess up is that they don't actually create those. So they say, I'm just going to keep following my plan. But what happens when you can't, or what happens when you struggle to? Well, if you had set your own personal ones, right? Like you said, it's not for my coach, it's for me. Then it becomes more, I think it becomes something you can adhere to a lot better. And it
For sure.
becomes something you feel personally connected to, right? It's not like you need to do this in order to be better. It's, I'm choosing to do this because I deserve to be better.
Absolutely. No.
Mm-hmm. And
Good stuff.
it is good stuff. I love this conversation. I know you had also like taken time too, and to actually have an off season, and that included, some downtime from the stage. So how would you say your improvement season differs from prep? Because it sounds like you're on point pretty much all year round, but I'd like to hear about like that downtime or what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So and one thing with, again, not beating yourself up, if anything, sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe I should be a little more like harsh on myself at times of enjoying things. But I really do think it's become to benefit me, because I did used to beat myself up about it. And I would just hold such a grudge, or, you're trying to make up for it by, not eating as much the next day or doing extra cardio. Or, I've had where I've competed and, I lost weight, and then, I rebounded and I gained the weight post show because I couldn't stop stuffing my face. So like, I've been there
Mhm.
and like, I get it.
I love
But
that vulnerability.
yeah, like I just got so annoyed with myself for not sticking to my plan. It just like, it frustrated me that I couldn't do it. And I knew I was better than that. So I think that's what it comes down to, is you just get so frustrated with not doing it that something really like finally just has to click that I'm just going to do it. One thing else too about journaling is, if you're telling yourself something, negatively in your head, and this self-doubt, you know, write it down, because I'll tell you what, you're going to have a hard time writing it down, because you can tell yourself all these crazy thoughts in your head and all these stupid things that are going on up there, but you will not write that lie down in your head on a piece of paper, because it's not true. Like, there's so many things that we're telling ourselves that we're, fearful about, or, doubting. And, even myself, I put a lot of pressure on myself going into my pro debut. And I was like, Kristen, what'd you expect was going to happen? Like, you're going on stage with girls that have got like 48 points, qualified for the Olympia, and, like these top girls. And I was like, I'm like, just have fun. Like, you'll get there when it's my time. And to get there, I'll get there. It's not like I was on stage unconditioned. It's not like I, tripped and fell, or, my hair and makeup was a disaster. It's just not my time. And I just got to keep building and going. Denver's really only going to be my 10th show ever. Like, there's girls that have won, 10 overall NPC shows, and this is only my 10th show ever. So it's like, I'm still a newbie in that aspect, even though I've been doing this for a long period of time. I just haven't competed aggressively. So I feel like now's my time to, really get out there. But I'm glad, because I'm not burnt out after doing this, for 6 years. I'm not burnt out. Feel like I'm, still able to go and keep going with it. And that's a really good feeling, knowing that I feel this good.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's what's going to give you that longevity. And it sounds like you are so committed to it not just being about like the title or the win. Those things matter and they're awesome and we want to attract them. But it sounds like you can see past that and go, okay, well, I actually can be honest with myself and know what's required of me to get there, or know what's actually happening, right? You're not kidding yourself about the current situation, which is just as important as like positively speaking what you want into existence. Like we talked about, you had mentioned like The Secret and some of those other books as well. And it's like law of attraction. That's a huge part of this, because obviously, like some people will say it's woo woo, but like, let's say we broke it down to more like less woo woo, right? If people do feel that way, if there's resistance about it, think of it like, think of it like you're constantly telling yourself you are going to achieve something or do something. This will make your focus shift to start taking those actions without you necessarily always having to consciously choose it. Of course, you have to be like consciously choosing actions, but like if you tell yourself, I am a strong person, then every time your strength is tested, you are going to choose to be the strong person, because your mind has now been being convinced or has been being told you're creating a new identity. When there's an identity disconnect, we feel guilty. Brain doesn't like to feel guilty or upset, but it can create that emotion to protect us. So when we're aware of all those things, we know that the more we say what we want to become or who we want to become, what we want to achieve, the more likely we will be to take actions that align with that. Just like you've obviously done with this. It's like, okay, well, I need to have fun. I'm someone who has fun. I have like that longevity in the sport, right? This is something that you're committed to. Therefore, the actions you're taking are creating that, right?
Absolutely.
Did you ever have anything like that you said, like affirmation wise, or for you, like how did you apply that law of attraction to competing?
Yeah. So a couple things. One was, obviously writing down. I wrote a couple times in my journal, like, I am so thankful now that I'm an IFBB pro. And I wrote this like a year before I got my pro card. Just like things like that. So just like writing, thankful for it already happening. I created a vision board, and I still change it up here and there. I wrote on there, like IFBB pro winner or pro card, Bikini Pro, just different shows that I wanted to do as far as like national shows. But I also put other things on it as well, like, car, home, vacation, things like that, just things that I want to envision. But a vision board definitely helped. And then, having ideas of the physique that I wanted in my head. So like I literally picture like what I want my glutes to look like. I picture what I want my shoulders to look like. And every time I'm in the gym, like that's what I'm thinking. Like if I'm working shoulders, like, okay, these are the shoulder, like I have the picture, in my head of, someone's shoulder. So, I've got, 3 different people's body parts in my head, and I'm trying to envision them, on me. So I guess that's how I've related to my physique.
No, that is awesome. I literally, like, as you were saying that, I was like, this is such a cool conversation. I love it. I feel like we connect in a lot of different ways because there's similarities here. And I just think that that's really cool. And I have a vision board too. And what crazy about it, as you were saying, I was like, the NPC News magazine?
Yes.
So like obviously when you're in the NPC, you get that magazine. And I remember one year I opened it up and I was like looking at all the winners of the class that I'm in. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be me one day. And I cut out like that first place sign that they put under the actual like
Yep.
winner. And I like put that on my vision board next to like an IFBB, like the logo for IFBB Pro League.
Yes.
And I was like, that's the thing, like with the vision board, when you see it, it's like you don't have to necessarily like meditate with it or like focus
No.
on it. It's like you're just seeing it. It's like if you put prepped meals in the fridge and you didn't eat them, you'd be like thinking about how like, oh, I didn't eat those meals. I need to eat those meals. Or you'd be thinking, oh, there's food there. I'm going to eat it. Right. It's like
Right.
naturally some sort of response to seeing something is going to come up. It's like it literally becomes part of you. And you mentioned something that I would love to repeat because it was so powerful. And that is the fact that you celebrated a win before you actually had it. And you said, I'm so thankful that now I am an IFBB Pro. And what's really cool about that is that, I mean, it's such a powerful representation of true self-belief. And also, even when you don't maybe believe it, like that commitment to starting to, that commitment to taking that on and making that, part of who you are. And what were some things that you were looking forward to about being an IFBB Pro? Like, why was that something you were so focused on?
So I just felt like growing up showing horses, I'm competitive. I like competing in sports and, things like that. Showing horses, yes, you're there showing your horse, but it's a one person out there competing. So I'm comfortable and familiar with that aspect of it. So I like that about it. I grew up having the opportunity to do like a little like runway model thing when I was younger. I'd done a pageant. So I liked all that part of it. And then as I got older and I found out about competing, I was like, okay, that's more my thing. It's a little bit more badass. It's not the pageant feel, like be a little edgy.
How long did you do pageants?
I only did it for like a year, and then I was like, I did the one, I was like Miss Junior Teen Vermont or something. I went to the whole show and I was like, yeah, no, that's not me.
So competing's more badass.
Yeah, so I found that and it seemed to be a good fit. But yeah, so, and then being a pro, again, just being on that level of being able to like challenge myself, maybe it's because the shows that I did well, placing first or second at, most all the shows that I did other than the last one before I turned pro or doing national shows. So just the challenge of it really, knowing that I can stand up there and be competitive. Maybe it's not right now, but I know my time's coming. I know, I'm going in the right direction with it. Just being able to have a platform that gives me just a little bit more credibility, because I know I'm able to help people. I know I'm not your everyday, Instagram fitness, follow me, yes, girl, power to you, babe. That's not necessarily me. Like my friends that I support, they know I support them. They know I will be there for them. I don't need to comment on every single picture that they're perfect. So I want to bring a different value to people. And I feel like this just gives me, again, a little bit more credibility to do that and to reach out to more people, more than just the glitz and the glam of the competing, which I absolutely love that part too. But it's such a small part of the journey.
Yeah, I love that. Something that I think motivates a lot of competitors is that idea and that belief that when they become an IFBB pro, they're now given a platform to not only challenge themselves, but also like do something different or
I think it's awesome. Like seeing what
yeah.
some of the pros have gone and done, and even if they aren't competing anymore, but the platform that they've been able to build off of this and, reach out to so many people, like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who will say like, okay, well, like, don't expect your life to change when you become an IFB Pro card, or when you become an IFB Pro. And what I always think is, don't expect your life to change ever unless
Right.
you're willing to do something for it, right? Like,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what your title is, you can achieve all of those things without it. Like, anybody listening, like straight up truth, not everybody's going to become a pro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't want to. Maybe it's going to take you a long time. Maybe by the time you're about to do it, something happens and it's like, oh, shit, if everybody could become a pro, like, the title of pro would no longer be
Exactly.
desired, right? Like, it'd be like, nope, don't care. Like, if an award was like, if the Grammys were like given to everybody, like, no one would care about the Grammys.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't really care about the Grammys myself, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to
Exactly.
create that connection. But anyway, like, it's just, we have to keep that in mind, right? That we can achieve and we can do those things right now, but having that motivation and having that extra, desire and that extra commitment and the reason for that commitment, we have a reason for it. Of course, we're going to be more driven. And then naturally, because that was our intention, we'll likely make something come out of it.
For sure. I love it.
Me too. I feel like I'm getting so fired up on this one. So, okay, something that I think is really important to address is the prioritization of ourselves and our needs. So, how are some ways that you, make yourself a priority in your life?
Yeah. It's definitely taken time to learn where my limit is, and that, like, it's okay to say no to things. It's okay for me to say no to my boyfriend that I don't feel like doing his laundry today or helping him with this. And it's okay to say no to my friends that I don't want to go out tonight. Or even if I had, made plans and, I'm just not feeling it, like, it's okay. As long as you're not doing it all the time and, being a crappy person. But just being able to say no, and again, just not feel guilty about it. I know as a female, there's so much out there as far as, again, hair, makeup, eyelashes, skin stuff. There's so much out there um to focus on. And I guess just finding the couple of things that, if you can't afford to do them all, find a couple of things that do make you feel good. I totally believe in, self-care and, doing things that make you happy, whether it be, going to get a facial or, going to get your hair or your nails done. But then also, again, taking care of your mind, making sure that you're feeding your mind good things, like you're feeding your body, like, the movies you're watching, the shows you're watching, what you're listening to on the radio, these amazing podcasts, just things like that, just taking the time to do that. And then whether it be, taking quiet time to meditate, or I really think, like coloring books are a great way if you're having
Yes.
a hard time, like, trying to meditate or shut your mind off. Take 20 minutes and color. Just focus on coloring and not going outside the lines.
Yeah.
So just really just taking the time to make sure that, I try to keep myself at peace. Because if I'm not at peace, then, at some point it's gonna come out on somebody else. So
Has that ever happened?
yeah, there's definitely been, I mean, I feel like a lot of people can feel that in prep, like you're on the go, you're busy, you get kind of tired and worn out, and you see a lot of people, myself included, I've been edgy, I've been snappy, and I just take the time, like, okay, relax again. And going back to my gratitude, like, you're choosing to do this, not everybody can get up and go to the gym, not everybody can, eat 6 times a day, and just bringing myself back to the things that I'm grateful for, when I do catch myself going off the good path.
I love that. Like, super, super aware of what you're doing and how to bring yourself back, and having a
Yes.
method that brings you back. Like, don't just let this be an excuse. Like, don't just let prep be an excuse to be an asshole, right? Like, actually have a method to bring yourself back to center.
Yeah, like it drives me nuts when I catch myself being edgy and I'm like, is this because you're in prep? I'm like, get it together. Like, don't let it, change who you are and control that. Like, I'm in control of my emotions and how I feel. And, if you catch yourself, thinking negatively, change the thought pattern by asking yourself, okay, well, what can I do, to help my day tomorrow? Or what else do I need to do later? Or what do I need to get at the grocery store? And I just, change my mind and start thinking of things that I, need or want to do,
Yeah.
and change the pattern.
I love that. I feel like everybody reacts differently on prep or has like moments of ups and downs. And something so weird, like when I'm on prep, I get like super, super loving, like especially towards the end. I don't know if it's like my body thinks I'm gonna die and is like, preparing like my goodbyes, like leaving a good
That's
lasting
great.
impression. But yeah, I get like super loving, but I definitely have moments like that where I'm just like, nobody talk to me. I swear,
Yep.
like this, I'll make up stories about like why people would do something, and then I'm like totally like I lose some compassion, and I'm like, what the heck? Like no, and I think that's great. Going back to the gratitude, going back to like changing your thought patterns. I just love that, and something I think kind of what we've been talking about is leading me to the topic of like holistic health.
Yeah.
And something that we focused on so far is like, or especially as competitors, we focus on is a lot of working out and nutrition, but now we've really gotten into the mindset and the intentional parts of this and really challenging yourself and being willing to do that. And something that you do is actually create more holistic health through the products that you help people bring into their homes. So I was curious, like, what actually sparked you to go, this is important?
Yeah. So, a friend of mine had reached out a little over a year ago, just asking if I was aware of, different products I was using. And, I was like, no, I'm into the food I eat and, the supplements I use, but other products and things around my home, didn't really register. So I started taking a look into it and just educating myself on what's out there, and the difference that it can make by changing things. So I started, and this is a company that has over like 400 products, and I started just by like switching out my shampoo, switching out my laundry detergent, just trying things like that. And with prep and stuff, sometimes your body gets a little bit run down on vitamins and everything like that. So, I was always noticing, oh my gosh, my hair is like coming out in the shower, and, why is it coming out so much? And never really thinking like, oh, well, maybe it's just your shampoo. Like I've tried different shampoos and, switch things up, bought something different every time. And then just switching over like my shampoo after like 6 months of using it, I was like, oh, nothing's really at the shower. Like my hair feels great. It's like finally like growing longer, and the longer it's growing, it's not looking like it's like dead at the end. Changing things up, like using certain cleaners around our house, with my pets and stuff like that too. My dog was getting like irritation between her toes, and a lot of the times, talking to the vets and stuff that I work for as well, it's usually environment over food. So whether that's things I can help chemical wise, whether it's maybe just grasses, but it was something that I could change with my laundry detergent, what I was cleaning like my floors with and stuff, and just breathing in everything healthier. Their vitamins, I know a lot of supplement and vitamin companies in the fitness industry, nothing's really tested, nothing's really, you don't really know what they're putting into it. A lot of companies are trying to put in the most dose and amount of things, and people are getting all jacked up on pre-workouts and things like that. So this is a company that they're trying to give you, natural, good products that work, and they've been around since, I don't know, like 1985 or something like that. But I just didn't really realize, you know, what I was using. So it's just been great to educate myself. And, you know, my boyfriend and I both use a lot of their products in our home. A lot of my family members have used everything as well. So it's just been pretty interesting to see the differences on a firsthand basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Like actually taking into account that just as like important as eating well and obviously moving our bodies is, and taking mental breaks and being focused on those things, like what else is around you, like being aware of how you are treating yourself in the littlest, ways, which actually end up having a big impact. And I always think it's so crazy, like we eat off counters, but like what are you spraying on the counter? It doesn't matter how healthy the food is.
Right?
Like why would you, like, what? And then it kind of also raises the topic of like we don't really know what's even in our food anymore. Like it's
Exactly.
and that's just so crazy, but if we can control the things we can control, and I think that obviously those of us who are prioritizing nutrient dense foods and really taking in and being aware of what we're eating obviously are going to be in a better position than I think those who don't, health wise. We can't really argue that. But then again, like you could say the same thing, like, well, isn't it just as bad then if they're basically rubbing like chemicals on their body to clean off after a hard workout? Like, isn't that just as bad? Or putting crap in their bodies that they don't really know? Like, I just think, wow, like there's so much more to health and fitness that is advertised. And something that grinds my gears that I'm guessing you could probably attest is like when people advertise like wellness on like a box of supplements, I'm like, wellness is not even just physical. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? I'm like, what are you talking about advertising wellness on this supplement bottle? Like, that makes no sense to me. I don't know. That just grinds my gears. Pet
No,
peeve.
I completely agree.
I'm like, this is false advertising. But no, I love that you're doing that. I love that passion you have with it too. It's very obvious. And, even if we're helping our friends or our family, like that's a great thing to be able to do. And if you can see it and feel it, like I only use natural cleaning products now. It's much better feeling mentally for me to know that I'm
Yeah.
doing that. Doesn't bother me with the smell either, because that was something I hated, and I actually get inspired to clean now because of it, and they seem to
Yep.
last longer. You know what I mean? So it's like, what the heck? Anyway, this then makes me want to know and get some insight from you. Like, how are you helping your clients to maintain more overall health and functioning both on and off the stage?
Yeah. So with this company, you know, it gives me a lot of products that I'm actually able to, you know, refer my clients to use, that like products that I trust. So they have probiotics, they have digestive enzymes, they have amazing vitamins, they have, you know, protein powder. So they do have that whole line of things as well, which, you know, I'm able to help people with. They have, you know, non-stimulant fat burners and things like that. They have different snack bars and things like that. So they've got the whole line of fitness that I'm able to help people with that as well. I like to help my clients set up with journaling and a vision board. I usually try to send out something about, you know, creating a vision board and like a guideline of what to do. I have like a monthly chart for them that if they choose that they want to keep track and kind of do the mindset part of things, you know, where they go through and, you know, their accountability of checking off, okay, did I do my 5 to 10 gratitudes today in my journal? Did I, you know, meditate or color for 10 minutes? You know, did I take my time to, you know, go for a walk, or just, you know, whatever it is that they're doing it. You know, I want to help them change their mindset as well too, because if I'm giving them a plan and, you know, they're still doubting themselves, or they're telling themselves I'm never going to lose weight, I'm always going to be, you know, overweight, I'm never going to get back to where I was, you know, then no matter what plan I give them, it's not going to work. So I need to make sure that they're still, you know, in the right mindset, they're telling themselves the right things, and, you know, all the stuff we've been talking about. You know, I try to share that knowledge with my clients as well, and really find the deeper, you know, issues of, you know, what's holding them back, or, you know, why they really want to get in shape, and, you know, what's making them, push forward when they're stuck or they're struggling or they want to eat that third slice of pizza on a Saturday night, So
Mm-hmm.
just really digging deeper into their minds, really, and again, helping people have that better, mindset and positivity.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important and unfortunately missed a lot, or sometimes maybe not executed in the best way. But I love that you're bringing that to the table for your clients, because it is true. Like, so much of what we're choosing not to do, or so much of the struggles we're facing, or the reason we're not getting results, is not always because we're not taking the physical action, but maybe because we have mental resistance that's then holding us back from taking that physical action even further than we think we
Yep.
can. And I just love that you address that and you raise that to them as well, because I think there's a lack of education on it. Like, right now, most people think like they want X result and that's what they want. And then, like, if you like, you can't sell them on the fact that, okay, well, we need to work through whatever's going on in your mind all the time for someone to come in for a
Exactly.
physical result. And then they come to you and, maybe you have some calls with them, and then they end up becoming like a personal development type client, where you're
Yeah.
really helping them grow in that way. So I think that that's a very powerful thing to do. And I love that you are doing that. And this is something that I'm really committed to bringing to this space as well. And a big reason why, obviously, like, this is so important to me. And part of why I started this podcast is so I could bring on people like you who get it and see that and want to make those changes as well. And I just love that you're doing that, and everything you've shared on this episode too, by the way. I really feel like if people listening implement this and put it to use in their lifestyle and in their life and their needs or goals, they're gonna experience changes, even if it's just in the way they feel about themselves. Isn't that enough? Like, that is everything. That there have been countless numbers of studies that suggest that the way you feel about yourself and your body and everything that you're doing plays a massive role in your quality of life and your fulfillment. So I love that we've talked so much about this, and I really appreciate everything you've shared so far.
Absolutely. I hope I brought value to people more than just what to do to get ready for the stage. That's what I
Yes,
was really hoping to do. So I
you
really
have.
appreciate having me be on this and be a part of it. And I think you're doing amazing things and, just adding so much knowledge and value to other people as well. So thank you,
Thank you. Of
Celeste.
course, yes. And before we get into, the ending, and I really appreciate everything you said, I do want to ask you, what is some advice that you would give to someone thinking about competing who hasn't yet competed, and someone who is really going after their pro card?
Yeah. Um, someone just wanting to start competing, make sure that, you're not doing it just to do it. Start working with a coach before you're ready to just diet down. I don't think 12 weeks is enough time, especially if you're starting with someone new. Probably like 16 to 20 weeks would be great, because you're not going to be, dieting that entire time. You're hopefully giving your coach a little bit of time to get to know your body. Honestly, going through kind of like an off season and then into a prep is probably the best. Just because, again, you have more time with your coach. They can get to know your body more, find what does and doesn't work. And again, make sure you're in the right mindset for it. Someone going for their pro card, um, definitely just make sure that, you're bringing an overall package, that your presentation is good, your hair, your suit, all those little details matter, that your tan is dark enough, that you don't have too much bling, between your shoes and your jewelry. And just, again, mindset. But I feel like for trying to go for your pro card, you've just got to have everything is just got to be working and in place. Sure, you can go do a national show, but if you're not feeling on your A game, it's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But just making sure you're ready to bring it, and to not be discouraged if you don't get your pro card at the first show.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if you're physically in the right conditioning and your mindset's good and you're in a place to give it a go, I think people need to commit and, give it a run. Give it 2 or 3 national shows to try. I don't think you should do 10, But yeah, give it a couple and give it a go and see where you really stand. Because again, different judges, different girls, you never know who's going to show up to what shows really. So when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe, everybody will have a moment or a time as long as they are fully committed to it. And I think it's definitely possible for those who are committed to get that pro card to achieve that. And I love that you said, if you're in that mental space, if you are in the right conditioning, if you have what you need to do it, go for it. And then like allow that to be satisfying, and push you, and just everything you've talked about. It's just, like I said, it's been really amazing. And I really appreciate everything you've shared so far. And I'd love for everybody to be able to tag you while they're listening, connect with you, reach out. So do you mind just sharing where people can find you and do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram would probably be the easiest way. My tag name is at Kristen Markowski _ IFBB Pro. Don't Hopefully don't need to spell my name, but
I'll make sure the link is in the show notes page.
yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, so Instagram's probably the easiest way to connect with me. I've got some other ways you can connect with me from there. Definitely reach out, shoot me a DM. You guys have questions, anything like that. I'm always here to support and, be a help any way I can.
You're awesome. And I really appreciate that. So everybody listening, that's all going to be in the show notes page. That's celestial.fit/podcast. If you haven't yet expressed interest in the live bikini mastermind event happening towards the end of this year, I'm still collecting interest for it by the time you guys hear this anyway. And I would love to see you there. I'd love to have you there. It's going to be awesome. We're really going to dive into what happens with the mindset of this, the post show specifically, making peace with food, your body, and your goals, but also how this can apply, of course, to overall prep and making sure that you are in the best state of mind to achieve those things that are necessary to not only feel internally validated, but even bring that so you can bring your best on stage. So that's going to be on celestial.fit/podcast. It's one of the buttons at the very top, or you can always DM me on Instagram and I'll point you in the right direction. So thank you guys again for listening, for tuning in. Kristen, thank you for being here. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening